Namaste, soul group, subconscious community, soul family, star family. Anyone tuning into this video from anywhere here. We're going to focus mainly on retrograde planets right now in this little video. Um, and so, let's just kind of talk about the retrograde in general. What it's talking about, so the zodiac wheel and the planets, all the planets and luminaries moving throughout that zodiac wheel, that 360-degree band of the ecliptic, otherwise known as the zodiac wheel. Um, Everything moves in a clockwise directions, right? So starting from 0 degrees Aries all the way through 29 degrees Pisces, right? So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that's the way that each degree of the zodiac ascends on the horizon every single day for about 4 minutes a day per degree. Um, but this that doesn't change. The only thing that changes is the movement of the bodies, aka the bodies of water, the chakras within the wheel, right? So when a planet goes retrograde, from our perspective, it's just appearing to move backwards or counterclockwise along the path of the ecliptic and the zodiac wheel. So basically, it's just moving backwards, really. But really, the planet's continuing to orbit. It's just going in a direction that to us looks like backwards, because we're just calculating the 360. So if you want to calculate, the exact, you want to pretend like you're the planet and calculate some straight path or whatever, you can do whatever you want. I'm sure there's people out there studying all that shit, but, for astrological purposes, we're just talking about the 360 degree zodiac wheel here, basically. So let's talk about some of these retrograde planets that we have right now. In general, we have a lot of aspects right now. As I'm making this, I think the sun is conjunct the north node today in Cancer, 17 degrees. The moon just entered Scorpio today, so we got sun trine moon already, giving us a natural gift to react and respond and act in a way that is harmonious as far as creating and initiating ways of dealing, feeling and dealing with the emotion, as well as stabling those and being fixated on them. So we're creating and stabilizing. The way that we're motivated to create today is off of our own way of thinking and our feeling and dealing with the emotion, but where we're basically that's what's motivating us to act off of what we're conscious of and the way we're seeing things. And today it's going to be largely about our spiritual path, and in the energy signature of initiating and creating new ways of feeling and dealing with the emotion, otherwise known as Cancer. And it's opposed Saturn literally by degree, so opposing retrograde Saturn. So we got our spiritual path, which is in an emotional area of life right now. We're going to be experiencing it through emotion. It's at odds completely, opposition with our structure and stability in our lives, and the way that we gain structure and stability in reality. Basically, it's at odds with reality. So we're all on our spiritual path today, or becoming aware of it, but it's completely 180 degrees from reality, or how we see reality. So interesting shit, interesting little tidbit there. Just trying to move kind of quick. I guess I want to keep moving through the transits, but I'm just going to get right to the retrograde planets because otherwise this will just be another half an hour video where I really don't end up talking about shit still. So let's start with the first planet who just went retrograde, and it's fresh, it's in everyone's mind, it's the most notorious, and the one that most often goes retrograde. We got Mercury, right? So we had Mercury just go retrograde, just start retrograding here on the 7th, a few days ago. What's today, like the 9th? Pretty sure it's the 9th. No, I think it's the 10th today. So, a good few days ago, we started this Mercury retrograde. And where Mercury is right now is conjunct Mars at the very beginning of Leo. So Mars and Mercury have been hanging together, transiting on top of each other for months now. They've been conjunct for months now. It's crazy, man. At least about a month or two, really. So they're both in Leo right now. We just had Mars make it out of Leo, and Mercury. Mercury went first. So we got Mars like the 5th degree of Leo, and the Mercury's on the 4th degree, which is where it started to go retrograde. So in general, when a planet's going retrograde, it's like the planet's moving backwards onto previous degrees and previous stars that it already passed. So right now Mercury is really close to being on the cusp. It's basically on the cusp of Cancer Leo, the cusp of oscillation in natal astrology, right? So we know about Cancer already, you know, cardinal water, but we got Leo, which is fixed fire. So it makes for a very steamy, emotional, but initiating stability in an emotional and feeling type of way as far as this Cancer Leo cusp goes. But with Mars and Mercury, let's just focus on Mercury though. I'm just, you know, Mars is right there too, so I'm throwing it in. But just focusing on Mercury being on the Leo side of that cusp, Mercury is really steeped in that energy signature of fixed fire, of Leo, which would be of of being fixated on your own way of seeing and feeling, right? So it's ruled by the sun. So it's literally just center stage, literally just expression. Leo represents self-expression, creative self-expression. So, but it's like, you know, it's like the fire that you can actually see. It's not the spark of creation, and it's not the giant wildfire. It's like the nice little flame going in, you know, your barbecue or your fireplace or something like that, that keeps you warm, and that you kind of control the burn of it. Basically, it's center stage, you know, it's right in the middle of the campground, right in the campfire is right in the middle of the campground. That's basically like the sun in our solar system and Leo in our zodiac wheel, which the sun rules. So sun is in rulership here in Leo, but it's not quite there yet. Sun still is in Cancer, conjunct Venus and the North Node, and all sort of beautiful whatnot, you know. So let's talk about Mercury retrograde here. So this is when we're going to be basically having thoughts and criticisms and forms of communication and things like this coming up from the past, right? So more from the past. So things we've thought and communicated and analyzed in the past and things like this. It might just be the way that we did it. You know, the energy in which we did it, that's coming back for us. Like, oh, I remember I did this way. This was the type of energy I entertained when I was doing this, or when I was, you know, messing with this person or something like that. But this time it's in Leo, so it's a very it has the potential to be a very dramatic type of Mercury retrograde at the moment, and then it's just going to be moving right back into Cancer. But you know, when a planet goes retrograde, like especially Mercury at this moment, they tend to go very slow, especially at first. So Mercury has been on the 4th degree of Leo for a few days now. When Mercury generally transits, is one of the faster transiting planets, if not the fastest, besides the Moon, which is indeed a luminary. You know, Mercury retrograde at the moment, Mercury is moving very slow. So in general, we're all thinking very slowly right now, and still very emotionally, for sure. But we still have the capability of being expressive about it. So right now we might be expressive of past ways of thinking and communicating, basically focused on the way that on how we see and feel about these, you know, methods of communication and these thought forms and this intellect and these analyzations, criticisms, all these things. And conjunct Mars, right? So we could be very passionate about this. We're basically stabilizing the fixed fire with our passion right now, motivations, desires, and the way that we therefore could be communicating about it. So there's a little bit of that right now. So Mercury, as it transits, you know, right now we got more energy, even though even in general, we're all thinking very slowly right now, whether you know it or not. Pretty soon it's going to get a lot more emotional and more dreamy as the Mercury moves back closer toward the sun in Cancer. So it's going to go back into Cancer with the sun and be conjunct the sun again. So right now it's like we got this Mercury retrograde. We're thinking and communicating super slow about the past. But it's not really, it's just passionate. That's like the most that we can get from it there. We might not even really be aware of it at all. Why? Because the sun is, while not that far away, still in a different sign than Mercury and Mars. So we got the sun conjunct Venus and the North Node in Cancer. So right now what we're conscious of naturally is emotions in the home and what makes us feel comfortable, and family, and we're focused on initiating and creating new ways of feeling and dealing with the emotion, right? This is that very caring, Cancer energy. So we all care right now. Depends on who you are, but we all care about at the moment something, some form of what we love and relate to and what we value, because we have Venus conjunct Sun here as well. And like I said, today specifically, we're learning about our spiritual life path here with the Sun conjunct the North Node. And it's completely an opposite of reality. So today's the day where it's like, oh man, I know I need to do this, but you know, how in the fuck could I ever do that? Because this is my reality, and it's literally a 180-degree angle from my current state, my current consciousness, what I'm currently consciously aware of, and my spiritual path, basically, that's being laid out in front of me. So. Um, so that's a little bit on Mercury retrograde right there at the moment. What kind of we're dealing with. It is a very fixed and expressive form of communication right now, although slow. So, um, yeah, man, that's something right there. But it's going to get a lot more emotional and potentially moody when, you know, as it continues moving back towards Cancer, and it's eventually going to go like you know, halfway back into Cancer. I think Mercury retrogrades until like somewhere around the 15th degree of Cancer, and then it goes direct again. So we obviously have some emotional baggage we have to go back and deal with. We have to think more about it and communicate it and analyze it, and maybe be critical of it. It's not a very critical type energy. You know, there's an opportunity to be with Cancer being a sextile to Virgo, but in general, it's really not. Cancer doesn't concern itself with that shit. That's not necessarily what Cancer cares about. Unless you get a Cancer like Elon Musk, who's a Virgo moon, then you're going to get someone who really cares about all that criticism and all that analyzation and shit. But that's a small percentage. So that's a little bit on that right now. And then we have let's just jump to the trine energy. So we got Mercury retrograde at the beginning of Mercury, and it's basically trine Jupiter. So we got Jupiter retrograde in Sagittarius, which will finally be ending and wrapping up here, coming up in a few weeks on August 12th, the day that Uranus will go retrograde and Jupiter will go direct. So Jupiter has been retrograde since April. It's been a while, for sure, like beginning of April. And Jupiter, you know, dealing with expansion, abundance, spirituality, wisdom, knowledge, things like this. A very wise planet, very steamy planet. And right now we have it in its masculine rulership of mutable fire, Sagittarius, the ninth house. So it's a very philosophical type energy. It's so right now we've been with this Jupiter retrograde. We've been experiencing. We've been going through past experiences in order to gain wisdom and knowledge from these experiences. So it's been interesting, man. Whether it's and basically, what form is that coming through? It's coming through the energy of being mutable and adaptable to our own as well as others' ways of seeing and feeling. So it's a very philosophical energy, very Jupiterian, very, you know, I see I see life this way, but I'm willing to adapt. I see that you see life this way. And I'm willing to adapt to you, or I see that you must be willing to adapt to this, or to me, or to that type of thing, or to this concept. And it's all in the name of wisdom and knowledge. So it's not supposed to be an ego thing. You know, Sagittarius is not much of an ego-driven sign. You know, Sagittarius ego is much more philosophical and dreamlike and wise than, you know, like actual ego, like Aries ego or Leo ego. The sun is the ego, right? But you know, with Sagittarius, it's Jupiter, so it's like a wise ego. You might see a lot of light, a lot of ego, a lot of consciousness coming off of the Sagittarius energy, but it's all in the name of wisdom, knowledge, philosophy, higher philosophy, you know, spirituality, all these things that are truly necessary. So Jupiter is like the wise uncle looking over us right now, giving us a gift. We have a gift right now to think and communicate based off of the past. Based off of our experiences from the past, and we're gaining wisdom and knowledge because of it. And yesterday we had the moon right in between those two, sextiling in Libra. So we were really, we were learning all of this through our relationships and our ways of initiating and creating ways of thinking and communicating or relating to others. This is how we were experiencing it yesterday. I know I was, for sure. But just talking a little bit about that, you know, that's a retrograde Jupiter, and Jupiter's been picking up speed. So a lot of times these planets, when they're getting ready to go retrograde, they'll slow the fuck down their orbit, and then they'll go retrograde. They'll be slow as fuck, and it'll take forever. I mean, like Pluto just moved a degree in like the first degree in like 3 months because it's been retrograde. We'll get there in a sec though. So but after a while of retrograde, you know, these planets will pick up. So we've had Saturn and Jupiter in retrograde for a while now, and so they're starting to move a lot quicker, as well as Pluto as well. But Pluto is so far away, moves so slow compared to where we are. From our point of view, Pluto moves so slow anyway. So, but we got, you know, so that's about that for that Jupiter retrograde right there. And this Jupiter retrograde is squaring almost by a degree. You know, Jupiter's around like the 16th degree right now, maybe 15th. It's about to move back a degree. I think it's going to go direct again, probably on the 14th, maybe 15th degree, maybe even 13th. But, you know, Jupiter being in Sagittarius in general is a great placement for everyone, really, but especially those with Sagittarius energies, you know, or a lot of Jupiter type energies. But scooting on over to Jupiter's feminine rulership of Pisces, where we got the co-ruler Neptune transiting right now. It just went retrograde as well a few weeks ago. So Neptune's moving, like I said, characteristically very, very, very slow. It just went retrograde, so literally it's been weeks, and Neptune has moved like 3 minutes, like hardly anything. It's gonna be months before Neptune moves a fucking degree. It's crazy. So this energy is squaring. So Neptune, you know, representing dreams, illusion, things like this, imagination. It's very watery, you know, like Pisces, right? Feminine Jupiter, also co-ruled by Neptune, right? So Pisces is the 12th house, the feet. Mutable water, representing the energy signature of being mutable and adaptable to our own and others' ways of feeling and dealing with the emotion. And right now we have, you know, no one's better at that than Jupiter and Neptune, and we got both of those two planets squaring each other right now, so giving us a learning process to learn and gain, you know, wisdom and knowledge basically through our dreams, through our illusions and things like this, by seeing through them. We have to learn something through our dreams and illusions and things like this, representative of Neptune and Pisces on the 18th degree retrograde. So dreams and illusions and things like this from the past, you know, creative imagination from the past. You know, so obviously this is going to be more so for some people than others. So basically with this square, this 90-degree angle energy with Jupiter and Neptune, like I said, you know, we're learning true spirituality. We're learning higher wisdom and knowledge through dreams. Yeah, I mean, that's basically it right there. So now we're going to get to the rest of the retrograde planets. So from Pisces or Neptune and Pisces, we can go a sextile over to Capricorn, and we'll get Saturn and Pluto, who are both retrograde, have been for a while now. So right now, we know we're talking about Capricorn, which is the 10th house, the cardinal earth energy, right? Initiating and creating, thinking and practicality, basically. New ways of thinking and being practical. So it's all about drawing up that blueprint, basically, right? It's all about feminine Saturn. And so Jupiter's in his masculine rulership, Neptune's in his rulership, but we got Saturn in his feminine rulership. So Saturn loves being here, right? So with this retrograde Saturn, though, we're focused on the practicality. We're thinking about the practicality of how we have gained structure and stability in our past, you know, and how we have had restrictions or boundaries, limitations placed on us, or that we've placed ourselves. Either way, shape, or form, we either use Saturn or someone else used Saturn on us. Oh, one sec.